Hey everyone, this is James from Appsurify, and I'm just going through, the basics of how our software works. And I'm assuming Johnson sort of already told you the installation is really simple. You'll be shown this page right at the start. You'll be able to click on the Start Installation button, then you'll connect your repository and connect your tests. For most people, that is really simple. It is literally just installing a quick CI script and then using that CI script within your CI, strangely enough. What I'm going to show you is an existing project that I have. It's built in Java. There are a whole bunch of JUnit tests. In fact, we can look at it and we can see there are 562 tests and they take roughly 10 minutes to run. Now that's not such a bad length of time, but it's starting to get slightly frustrating for the developers to wait that long. And we often deal with runs that are much larger than this. But this is representative, and I couldn't show anything more in a demo. So the way that we work with the tests, I've already connected up a project for QA Meetup. So we've already got that connected. Is we just essentially comment out this Maven test and comment in R command. So I'll do that just now. Comment Maven test and comment in run test with Appsurify. Save the changes. And then I'll go back to the build. And then what this is going to do, and once I restart, is the whole goal is to try to reduce this 10 minutes down. So I'll restart now and then get back to it. So at my previous role, I had 10,000 UI tests and they took way too long to run. And getting that build as part of the gated CI was impossible because it took 24 hours to run the tests. So what I wanted to do is to try to find a way to run a much smaller subset of tests to get the feedback to developers as quickly as possible. And essentially what we do is we use machine learning, we connect to the repository and the tests, we use the history of the tests, we use some other NLP techniques, essentially just to be able to run a dynamic subset. Now that is configurable. You can choose to run a percentage of the tests. We can say percentage and run 20%. Oh, I can't type. We can run 20%. Or we can say, look, I just want to run this for 45 seconds. All of this is configurable within your tool, within your command, and that just makes it very simple for you to have a test plan that works the way that you want it to work. So what the script does in the background is it says, okay, I'm trying to run the test for this project, and it's this type of test suite. What tests do you recommend for the commit that is being run? So you can see here, this is for OF3991. So it will literally go back, it will send that commit over to us, or that set of commits if it's been a while since the tests were run. And then our tool, TestBrain, will recommend a subset of the tests. It essentially goes, okay, for these changes, for this set of changes made by these developers, these are the set of tests that are most likely to fail. And then it orders them, and then it will send them back to us depending on this criteria. So if it was percentage 20, it would send 20% of them. If it was 45 seconds, which is actually what I've got configured for this one, it will send back the set of tests that will take that long to run. It sends that back to our command, and then what this command does is it says, okay, these are Maven tests, therefore I need to run them like this. And then it will essentially create a command that will run just that smaller set of tests, and then it pushes the results back to us so that we can learn from them. Okay, so we can jump back into the test run, and we can see it's finished now. It's only taken 54 seconds. Which is a lot less than the 10 minutes that it was previously taken, or a minute, 11 seconds when you're including cloning and checking out. We can go into the tests themselves, and we can see that only 22 tests were run, right? And that they took a little bit over that 45 seconds, but still a substantial reduction in time. In fact, actually, we can see here it only took 44 seconds. So that's the big benefit. We want to be able to get test runs faster. We want to get more reliable results. We want to get those results back to the developers as quickly as possible. And that's the goal of Appsurify, and that's what we've sort of been working towards. So you can imagine your developers, they're going to be much happier. You're going to find the bugs faster. They're not going to context switch. You're not going to have builds queue. You're just going to have streamlined results going back to the developers quickly. You can still run that much, like the longer test suite, the big test suite, overnight or on the weekend. That's totally fine. In fact, that's sort of what Google and Facebook do. And that's what we recommend as well. But this way, you're just going to find defects faster. UI tests are often very painful to get into builds. You either have to pay a lot of money to parallelize them, or you can use Appsurify, and let's just run the set of tests that actually matter. Now, if I show you a little bit of what we do outside of that, is the other thing that we work with is because you're working with UI tests, they are often flaky. So for Appsurify, what we've done is we've developed also a way that we can detect flakiness and handle it far smarter than other tools. So most other tools, what they do is if there's flaky tests, they either quarantine them so you don't run them. We don't recommend that because flakiness can essentially, you can then hide defects, right? If you're not running a test, what happens if it fails for a real reason? And so what we can do is we can either rerun the tests to prove that they're flaky. So we can have a rerunner automatically as part of this script. Or what we can do is we can, when the defect comes in, we can say, is this defect flaky or not? And then pass if it's something that is known to be flaky or that we think is flaky. So we have an extra model that looks at failures and it says, okay, what does it look like? And when you think about it, what we're doing is what good testers would do. A good tester is going to know, okay, they've changed this part of the code. It makes sense to run these set of tests. A good tester is also going to know if a test usually takes a minute and it's only taken 10 seconds and then it's failed, usually that's doing some setup. Less likely to be a real bug, more likely to be an environment issue, something went wrong. So maybe that's flaky and we can leave it. So, and then we also know, let's say a login test fails and an accounts test and a transfers test. So it's a broad range of failures for this one defect. That again is less likely to be a real failure, more likely that they all hit the same environment and there was an issue with that environment and they all failed for something that was like flakiness. Similarly, if we see these tests going past into failing, that tells us again, more likely to be a flaky defect. And what we can do is exactly this. This took 52 seconds. So again, we're just running the smallest subset possible. But if we jump into this, we've actually got some failing tests. And what we've done is we've caught these tests and we know that they're flaky. And so we've passed the build even with those failures. And that means that you're not going to have these builds that are always red because of not real bugs, which then the developers stop believing in the tests. They stop looking at the builds. It's like the boy who cried wolf. And so Appsurify helps to eliminate that. And you start to just get clean runs much faster so that you can do the rest of like your job. And we're tracking those defects. If I actually just jump into this, so that you don't need to raise them in Jira. We'll track them. We'll close them. You don't need to worry about them. So we're trying to reduce the burden on the test team. And the goal that you're looking for is essentially just a long run going to a much shorter run, right? So we're seeing that drop in time. So hopefully everyone is enjoying the talk. I'll pass you back to Johnson now.